We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Footballs. Peek around the corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to this channel. Smash the like button. If you like our content, share the video with your family and your friends if you want to support this Rebel Outpost college football YouTube channel with a donation. Put a comment in, hit that $, and we'll get to your super chat as soon as possible. Welcome in. Welcome into the studio that sits on the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. It's Monday. As we all know, a very important week in college football. It sounds like we're going to have to lower our expectations, narrow our scope. There needs to be one thing really needs to happen by the end of the week. And it would be beneficial to everybody if a second thing would happen by the end of the week. But there are things out there that's not going to be happening this week. According to Ross Gellinger, 365 Sports with David Smoke, Catalina and everybody. Great show they just had. We're going to be giving you the update, the bullet points, and what we've been hearing here at Peek Around the Corner. The title of this show is Conference Championship Games. They could be disappearing. Replaced by a wild card conference weekend game. Now, somebody in the chat, somebody who called, somebody in the PATC community called us a while ago and said, why don't they have three? If you're going to have three automatic qualifiers in a conference, why don't you have 3 versus 4? Why doesn't that replace the championship game? I heard today that this is something the Big Ten would like to at least look at. That's probably saying it lightly. And then Ross Dellinger said it on 365 Sports. He didn't call it wild card. When we were talking to someone today, they said wild card weekend. Dellinger didn't use that phrase, but he did say 3 versus 4 playing instead of the conference championship game. That could be what happens as we peek around the corner. Could. Dellinger is saying more than could. That is the title of our show. There's a lot more updates that we got to get through. There's a lot of bullet points. So I'm cross-pollination. I'm doing cross-pollination. What we've heard today at Peek Around the Corner, crossed with Ross Dellinger, pretty much lines up. There are little differences, and I'm going to point them out. The Big Ten is pushing for something. We'll get to it. And I'm going to start off the show. That's the main story of today. CFP update for Monday in this incredible, important week. We're going to start off the monologue by talking about the Georgia Bulldogs. Before last year, they were the 2-time defending reigning national champions. I've got them number 1 right now, although I might be do-si-doing the Buckeyes and the Bulldogs here. I want to hear how Will Howard's doing. I want to hear about Georgia, But anyways, and I said last week, we're going to be talking about Georgia early this week, where we're going to start off the monologue going through a nicely written article about the Georgia Bulldogs. There is an urgency this year. Kirby Smart, there is an urgency. They missed out of the playoffs. They had one bad game in the worst part of the calendar season against Alabama in the CCG, and they didn't get to the playoffs. Well, they're stacked. They're absolutely stacked. So we're going to go quickly through the Georgia Bulldogs. That's what we're going to do here. We've already started it, right? We're talking college football. We're doing our rankings. We've done the top 25. Georgia was number 1. We've been through the rankings of the quarterback in the conferences. We just did the great top 8 running backs going into 2024. We're starting to talk about teams. I already got something lined up for Notre Dame tomorrow. And then I'm going to be talking about Ole Miss. And then I'm going to be talking about Purdue. Day after day, we're going to be talking about teams, letting it all marinate as we get ready to make our predictions after the spring, early summer. That's how we do it here at Peek Around the Corner. But before we get to the Georgia Bulldogs, before we get to the CFP update, Ross Dellinger 365, and what we've heard at Peek Around the Corner earlier today, I want to thank everybody who has come in on a lazy Monday. Late afternoon, early evening, depending on where you are, kind of a lazy Monday. It's going to pick up this week. Mr. Monkey says he's in the house. he was number one. Early peak member, Nick Kelso, Heartbreak 25. No drum solo. We're starting slow. We had a big weekend. If you missed our live show on Saturday, if you missed our live show on Sunday, holy smokes. The PATC community was on fire. It was a fun time. This show, we're getting warmed up. We're getting warmed up for a very busy week now. Keep your head on a swivel during this live show. Keep your head on a swivel. There might be a report coming out as we're doing this live show. And I'll leave it there. Keep your head on a swivel. The architect is in the house. Bruce Harris, Boomer, John Teal, Matt Neeson, Go Cyclones, Caleb Ramirez, Jake, Go Blue, Randy Taylor, Mooncat, early peak member, Tough Tony, Goldie for president, 2024. I don't think there is a golden gopher. I don't think there is a gopher that's over the 35-year age where you need to be 35 years according to the Constitution. So I don't think any gopher can be president of the United States. Bearcat Steve is in the house. We're going to be talking about Mike Denbrock tomorrow, Notre Dame, offensive coordinator. Incredibly successful. The last two places he's been at, one of them being Cincinnati. We're going to be talking about Notre Dame tomorrow. Laura Weiss is in the house. John Dowie, for the Canes, early peak member. Donnie McNerney, hi y'all, he's in the house. David Hackett. Mondays with the best, Greg PATC, thank you so very much. Chad Bracey is here. Congo is here. Sup, what's up, everyone? Expedition Greg, Bob Swanger, Ryan Brooks, Jimmy is here. Bill G is here. David Kreitzer is here. Repeat championship games are lame. It's better. It's time for a better system. Nick Boardman is in the house, and he's asking, what's up, PATC peeps? Nathan, hi, how you doing, sir? Hitting Hawaiian is in the house. Jason O, the TCU Horned Frog himself. Mick Stevens is here. Charlie Atwood, always representing Penn State. Always representing Penn State in the PATC community. David Kreitzer is a Fighting Illini. D5 Terps, we know what D5 Terps is. He is the longtime PATC member, Mr. Terrapin himself. He's in the house. Stephen McNeely, I'm in the house. Yes, you are. Tony Toby. Hi, Greg. How nervous are you that the SEC and the Big Ten have their own playoff? I'm not nervous. And we'll see how it goes. But, right now, Ross Dellinger answers that question, by the way. They asked him, what do you think about the potential split? The 365 Smoke and Catalina said, Ross Dellinger, what do you if the Big 12 and the ACC says, that's it, nah, we're not doing this. What is the potential of a split? Ross Dellinger agreed with me. But I got to tell you, Ross Dellinger doesn't think it's much of a chance. We're going to go through what he said. But I'm even more negative on the prospect of Petiti and Sankey even being able to pull it off. So that's one. Now, Dellinger didn't say it. No one else has said that. I'm the only person saying that. Besides all the other reasons why I don't think it's going to happen for 2026. I'm adding the fact that I don't think those two guys can pull it off. I don't think they're looking to pull it off. Sankey doesn't want anything to do with it. I don't think Petiti does either. But we'll go into what Ross Dellinger said about it. Immaculate, replace CCGs. I will have to see it to believe it. He's in the house. Ryan, one domer is here. That's good. That's good. We're going to be talking about Notre Dame tomorrow. Unless, you know how it is. These big, huge breaking news items, Notre Dame might get pushed off. But I don't think so. I think we got to talk about Notre Dame. We have to talk about that improved wide receiver room. They're stacked in the secondary. They have a really good defensive line. That offensive line, of course, they lost the incredible Alt. We're going to save it for tomorrow. Mike Smith is in the house. Holy smokes. Rodney Wood, thank you so much. Rodney Wood is a new Cloak and Dagger member. Thank you for your generosity, sir. Mr. Wood, you are hereby Cloak and Dagger knighted. Thank you so much, Rodney Wood. Now you can go watch the early P Cloak and Dagger membership only videos on a YouTube channel. I appreciate your generosity so very much. Our membership numbers are through the roof. I want to thank everybody. Your generosity in the PATC community, all your gift memberships, spreading the joy around the community. I appreciate it so very much. Grateful Trojan, USC. The Trojan is back here in the house. Holy smokes. Canes all day. Jason O. At this point, I hope the SEC and the Big Ten break off and create their own football division with their own playoff. Those two conferences are creating all the chaos. If that happens, I believe everybody's going to have to wait on that. But we shall see. We shall see by the end of this week what happens. And again, I said at the start of the show, we're going to have to narrow our scope, narrow down our expectations by the end of this week. One particular thing has to happen. It would behoove everybody if another thing happens. But there's a couple other items on the list. It ain't happening this week. Not according to what we've been told. Not according to what Ross Dellinger said on 365 Sports. I did see that Movie Time Blues. I did. In fact, I watched it. I did not gain any new information on that. I think I basically covered that all. But thank you, Movie Time Blues. Keep sending me those DMs. Appreciate it. Okay, so let's get to Georgia. Joe Z, ESPN polling their deal yet? We're going to get to that. We are going to get to that. Ross Dellinger got to that. We are going to get to that. Georgia. I got Georgia on my mind. Let's go. Georgia. Seth Emerson, the Athletic. Georgia football open spring practice with a blend of urgency, consistency, and renewal. Two-time defending national champions until they lost out to Alabama. They didn't quite get to the 14 playoffs. Michigan took it. Athens, Georgia, the head coach is the same. Both of his coordinators are back. So is his starting quarterback, and Carson Beck. He was fantastic last year. He went way over people's expectations. The quarterback position was not the issue. But as Georgia begins spring practice this week, plenty is new. Plenty is new. That wouldn't be newsworthy in college football, with its natural turnover now supersized by the transfer portal, but it takes on significance for the program, widely expected to be the preseason number one. For right now, they're PATC number one. We've already done a top 25. They were number one, the Buckeyes number two. We might be do-si-doing those two, though. I got to see. I got to hear the reports. I got to watch the tapes. Spring football tapes. With the coach now assuming the unofficial mantle as the most accomplished in the sport because Nick Saban retired. And entering a season that will be unlike any before. And I think we can all agree to that. We can all agree to that. An expanded SEC and with a different scheduling format will impact Georgia. An expanded college football playoff should very much impact Kirby Smart's team. And the specter of Nick Saban has been removed, although Alabama has not. And now Texas looms along with a rejuvenated Ole Miss. They should have put Missouri in there. They should have put Missouri in there. Brady Cook, Luther Burden. They should have put Missouri in there. And now Texas looms along with rejuvenated Ole Miss, all on that Georgia schedule. That leads into the first item on things that are different for this program as it takes the field Tuesday, tomorrow, first day of practice. That's why I said last week we're going to be hitting Georgia early this week, right before they start spring practice. The urgency. Failing to three-peat to match the Minnesota Golden Gophers, 1932, 1933, Anyways, failing to three-peat or even make the playoff didn't send the program into panic mode. The predominant feeling within the program is the team had a bad day at the worst time. You know which day, but it was still one of the best teams in the country. Still not getting a ring, national or SEC. Stung enough to put some spring in the off-season workouts. And it wasn't the only factor. Think back to this time last year and all the talk about Georgia's week schedule, especially at the start of the season. And I remember that. We talked about it. Maybe it was no accident that the Bulldogs stumbled around the first month, trailing South Carolina at halftime and having to rally to win its first road game at Auburn in week 5. This year, the narrative has flipped, and yes, in more ways than one. Coaches talked about this year's brutal schedule for Georgia. Even before the last year even ended. This year, the 24th schedule is brutal. Clemson as the opener in Atlanta is a start. And I got a feeling that PATC is going to be doing a watch party for that game. Georgia, Clemson, the opener in Atlanta. This may not be the Clemson of 2021, but it's still Clemson. Not UT Martin or Ball State, last year's first two opponents. Then the schedule has a steady string of road landmines. Kentucky, Alabama, Texas, holy smokes. There are home games that could get tricky. Auburn, Tennessee, the Florida game. Well, let's see something out of the gate is first. But the point stands. Georgia's schedule this year is on a whole different level than it was last year. All in all, there's a genuine need to start the season at full throttle and stay there. Smart publicly may dispute this and say there was urgency last year. The consistency and approach every year is important to him, but privately and subconsciously, the increased urgency would be hard to dispute. And I'm going to ad lib here. You know, the 12-team playoff, this is the first year of the 12-team playoff. And so the dream of making a playoff, has just grown massively across the college football landscape through its fan bases. Almost every one of us can dream of a pathway for our team to make the playoffs. And the expectations for some of those teams that don't quite make the playoffs, but now they're expected to do so almost every year, man, the pressure on those coaches is crazy. You know, like, for example, Penn State, now they better make it. Notre Dame, now they better make it at least once every 3 years. There are teams like that. But then there are programs like Georgia. Man, if they don't make the playoffs, holy smokes. Is that increasing the urgency for Kirby Smart? Missing it last year, you better not miss it this year in the 12-team playoff. Is that also pushing the urgency for the Bulldogs? Impact players. Georgia has 28 new scholarship players enrolled this spring, 22 from high school, 6 transfers. Tight end from Stanford, he's got to graduate before he gets snaps. This being Georgia, nobody's expected to come in and be the savior of the program, especially the freshmen, where there isn't a guaranteed starter, but a few could make pushes at need positions. 5-star Ellis Robinson was one of the most nation's top recruits and plays cornerback, where Georgia lost Kamari Lassiter. But that's a tough spot for a freshman to start right away, as Tyson Campbell found out. Does Ellis Robinson, does he grab that spot, never let it go? I mean, is he going to be starting against Clemson in Atlanta week 1? Then KJ Bolden. We all heard of KJ Bolden's recruitment. It was a rock fight. KJ Bolden, another 5-star, joins his safety position that lost Javon Bullard. But there are other veteran options there. So Bolden's development this spring bears close watching. These 5-stars may not even start on the field at the beginning of the season. There are too many other highly touted recruits to list. Georgia did sign the number 1 class. But one more, Ryan Puglisi won't be the starting quarterback or even number 2, but does he make Georgia people very optimistic about the future of the position, even without the quarterback, Dylan Raiola, who flipped to Nebraska? As for the transfers, the eyes will mainly be on the offense. We talked about it when we did our top 8 running backs for 2024. We put Trevor Etienne at number 7. He was imported from Florida, holy smokes, to be the veteran running back, making him the best bet to start against Clemson. 3 receivers should all be a part of the rotation. Colby Young from Miami. Now, as a tall and physical option, I watch Colby Young. He jumps out on the TV. He reminded me of Keontae Coleman, who played at Michigan State, transferred to Florida State. I think it was after spring games last year. It was a late transfer. And I said on this show, it's one of the reasons why I picked Florida State to win the ACC and to go to the playoffs, because I thought Coleman was going to be spectacular. He made a lot of big plays for the Seminoles. This guy's not quite as good with his hands, but he jumps out of the screen. Colby Young, and I'm thinking Colby Young, Georgia, Carson Beck, Kirby Smart. Holy smokes. He did drop a few passes at Miami, so we'll see what happens. And then they got Michael Jackson, the Southern California speedy dynamic option. On defense, safety Jake Pope, Alabama transfer, will try to get into the mix. Xavier McLeod, South Carolina, initially is depth on the defensive line and potentially more. They got a lot of good transfers from within the SEC. It used to be that didn't happen, but now everything is up for grabs, right? New veteran starters, Georgia returned 16 of 22 starters from the Orange Bowl. Georgia was a great team last year. They just did not play well against Alabama. You got to give Bama credit, but Georgia returned 16 starters of that team, and then they're bringing on these transfers, and some of these transfers, man, Georgia's absolutely stacked. Few of the names and spots to watch this spring. Jared Wilson, center. Right tackle is also open. Sophomore Monroe Freeling, a former 5-star prospect, has the early lead, but there's a 6-year senior sitting there. Junior linebacker Jalen Walker may be one of the most talented players on defense, but he doesn't have an obvious starting spot. Inside, outside, pass rush, specialist. And then finally in the article from The Athletic, a few more players. Jordan Hall, yet another sophomore, may have trouble breaking through as a starter with the veteran back, but could be too good not to play significant snaps. Roderick Robinson, a sophomore running back, could push ETN or show he can be the number 2, which is basically a cold starter. There are more names to mention and more spots to follow, so this could go on for a while. That makes this spring fascinating on a day-to-day basis, and it starts tomorrow, Tuesday, in Georgia, the Bulldogs. And it makes it fascinating to watch because the transfer portal opening again after the spring. So some of the Bulldogs might go in the portal, right? The business of finding the identity of this year's team isn't waiting until the games begin. The process is ramped up in 2024, and the spring will be a big part of the process. And look, we had to do it. We had to cover the Georgia Bulldogs today. They start spring practice tomorrow. Going to be fascinating to watch. They are absolutely stacked. And what is so exciting about it is Georgia versus Clemson, Atlanta, week 1. Woo! Yes. College football. You got to love it. Okay. I'll get to your comments here about the Georgia piece. Then we're going to go into Ross Dellinger. Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports, was on 365 Sports with David Smoke, Paul Catalina. He gave us an update. And we're going to report to you what he said, and we're going to report to you what we were told this morning. A lot of cross-pollination, some a little different. We're going to get into it. Holy smokes, Anthony Carlson. Thank you so much. Unbelievable generosity by Mr. Carlson once again. That this is not the first time, not the second time. Holy smokes. Gifted 10 memberships. The generosity is unbelievable. Mr. Carlson, you are hereby once again knighted, cloak and dagger. Thank you very, very much. Let me see if I can find those who were gifted the memberships. KS Bear FN, John Menser, KST, Kevin White, Patrick Weigel, Anthony is Williams, Sherry, is that Stern? No, that is Stem. Sherry Stem, Jason Ritchie, Chris S, and P Digits. You are all hereby cloak and dagger, knighted, and congratulations. And what that means is you can go into the early Pete Cloak and Dagger episodes, member-only episodes where we drop in once a week, twice a week, a little bit of intel, a little bit of nugget of information before we bring it live. Sometimes when we go live, we just got to bring it. But sometimes we give the early peek to the members. So congratulations to everybody. Please thank Anthony Carlson for his generosity. Okay. Now, Immaculate is saying no way on CCG. He might want to listen to Ross Dellinger on 365 Sports. For the rest of you, because he's leaving, for the rest of you, we're going to give you the information right now. Right now. Okay. I gotta fill up my Cloak and Dagger mug here. Hold on. 1 second. Yeah, that's good. That is Canadian Dry, 0 sugar, fruit splash. Right there. That's what's going in the Cloak and Dagger mug for this Monday afternoon. Okay. Ross Dellinger was on 365 Sports, and this is the update that he gave the Smokes and Paul Catalina. Number 1, I'm going to go right down the list. Hopefully, ESPN gets the call by the end of the week that the commissioners, that the selection managers, whatever, hopefully that ESPN gets a call by the end of the week that the college football world has accepted their offer, the $1.3 billion. Hopefully that gets done. But Ross Dellinger himself is not hopeful. Now, he doesn't say that ESPN, if they don't get the call by the end of the week, that the college football world is accepting their offer for the CFP playoffs, $1.3 billion annually from 2026 to 2031. He doesn't say ESPN is going to pull it away, but he does say the time is ticking. But he's not hopeful. He's not hopeful that that's going to get done. Which is not good news. And I think we can read into it a little bit later why he thinks that. But that's how we're starting out, right? That's how we're starting. Ross Dellinger, not hopeful. Those were his words about the playoff the commissioners. Not hopeful that the commissioners are ready to say, yes, we accept that offer. Socialization. That word's being used over and over again. And they asked Dellinger about that. The socialization of buys and revenue. They're talking about Big Ten and the SEC getting that the exclusive rights to an automatic buy, and the revenue distribution. Right now it's at 58%. That's being socialized, being talked about. Big 12 and ACC about 32%. And Ross Dellinger puts it like this, and now this should not surprise anybody, but he says, Ross Dellinger explained it like this: Big Ten, the SEC are on one side, the ACC and the Big 12 are on the other side, the G5 is in the middle, and they're just happy that they are in the room. That's how Ross Dellinger put it. Ross Dellinger talks about, everything's on the table, everything's being negotiated. The commissioners talk with their athletic directors. They get an idea. The commissioner throws it out there. He did say, when the Big Ten and the SEC said 4 qualifiers each for those 2 conferences, Ross Dellinger used the phrase, it was shot down by the ACC and the Big 12. When they talked about the exclusive first round buys that the SEC and the Big Ten wanted, Ross Dellinger used the phrase, it was shot down by the ACC and the Big 12. So those 2 were shot down. Now I'm going to add, I'm not going to mix it up. First, we're going to talk about Ross Dellinger, what he said today on 365 Sports. I'm giving you the bullet points. Go listen to the whole interview. Go to 365 Sports, Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Ross Dellinger. This week, Ross Dellinger, and then when I'm done with the Dellinger points, then I'm going to add in what we've heard earlier today at Peek Around the Corner. There's a little bit of a difference in a couple little items here between myself and Dellinger. This week, it's about revenue distribution. This week, it's all about the revenue distribution model, hopefully leading to a resolution for they can accept the ESPN deal of the $1.3 billion annually. This is the focus. It's the revenue distribution model. Even to the point where Ross Dellinger said, format, voting model could be weeks away. The format could be weeks away from getting settled. It ain't happening this week. So we got to eliminate that from our expectations. Unless things go, unless things, for whatever reason, go incredibly successfully well here at the beginning of the week. But the format and the voting model could be weeks away. And he especially brought up the format schedule. All focus is on revenue distribution. Brett Yormark. Brett Yormark is meeting with his athletic directors this Tuesday and Wednesday. And they'll be talking about what's Big 12's position, right? What should what should their position be during the end of the week here? It was asked Ross Dellinger, how does the ACC situation affect the ongoing talks? And Dellinger said, it's absolutely affecting the talks. No question about it. He went on to say, that's why Yormark, just like what we speculated, and I think it was pretty easy to pick up what Ross Dellinger was putting down on that article. Ross Dellinger is pushing for that, and he's probably going to get it, that look in, where if there's realignment that happens before 2028, they're gonna have it in there where they can easily redo the format, the voting rights, and the revenue distribution. There's gonna be a look-in. If realignment happens in the Power Four conferences, ACC, that look-in's gonna get in there. And it has affected how the talks have gone. And I'm just going to put in my addition in here. It's affecting Jim Phillips. It's going to affect him at the end of the week. We talked about it on a live show. We were told and we reported to you on our live show yesterday, it's going to be Jim Phillips that is going to be throwing up the stop sign at the end of this week when it comes to the distribution model. Your Mark, not so much. Because I think Your Mark believes something's going to happen in the next couple of years. Things are going to change. Anyways, what Ross Dellinger said, though, is when the Smokes and Catalina talk about this unequal revenue distribution, it's terrible. That's not how you do it in the NFL. The NFL, the media money split up all 32. Still, the Dallas Cowboys make more than the Bengals, but the media money is all cut up evenly. And Dellinger talked about it. Yes, it's going to cause more growing gaps between the conferences. What Dellinger questioned is why is it that the base distribution of the $1.3 billion, why is it $1.2 billion, roughly, little less than that, but roughly, and why is the performance part of the playoff distribution $100 million? Why is there such a disparity? Why is so much of the playoff money being allocated to the base part of the distribution, the automatic money? That's the problem that he has with it. He doesn't have an answer for that. Now, our show is titled Conference Championship Games Might Disappear and Be Replaced by a Wild Card Conference Weekend. Ross Dellinger doesn't use the phrase wild card, like I said at the beginning of the show. He doesn't use the phrase wild card conference weekend. That phrase was told to us earlier today, but Ross Dellinger hit upon what we were told earlier today. So this definitely has some socialization going on. Okay? Socialization is happening around what I'm about to tell you, for what it's worth. Ross Dellinger in the 365 Sports interview today talked about three models that are being kicked around. The 3-3-2-2-1-3. We know what that is, right? 3 automatic qualifiers SEC, 3 automatic qualifiers Big Ten, 2 for the Big 12, 2 for the ACC, 1 for the G5, 3 automatic berths. He also said the 2-2-1-1-1-7 is being kicked around. 2 for the SEC, 2 for the Big Ten, 1 for the ACC, 1 for the Big 12, 1 for the G5, 7 at large. And then there's the 5+9. If you go and listen, and please listen to it, don't take my word for it. When this live show is over later tonight, listen to Ross Dellinger on 365 Sports. I'm giving you the bullet points. And then I'm going to give you what we were told earlier today. But you go listen to the whole interview. Ross Dellinger was really aggressive. He said if this comes down to a 3-3, 2-2, 1-3, those CCGs, those conference championship games, are most likely going to disappear. There are conversations going on right now. He also said they make a whole lot of money for the SEC and the Big Ten. A whole lot of money. But the playoffs are going to be making a lot of money. And he also said, and then there's the idea of a 3 versus a 4. If you have 3 automatic qualifier spots, you could have a 3 versus 4 game. By the way, this was brought up in a phone call about a week ago from somebody in the PATC community, and I love the idea. But this morning, it was told to us that this is being kicked around, and Ross Dellinger said it today. Now, Ross Dellinger didn't say this is definitely going to happen, but he brought it up. He said like a 3 versus 4. That is being talked about. A wild card. If it's a 3-3, 2-2, 1-3 model. There are talks about the conference championship games going away. He even said, now if you go, please go listen to the whole thing. Later on, he said, even in the 2-2, 1-1, 1-7 model, he sees it going away. And then even the 5+9, maybe that's, you give most value to the CCG. He said maybe, but the first 2 models and the 5+9 probably isn't going to happen. The first 2 models, he sees the CCGs quite likely going away. Now, he didn't declare it absolutely, but that looks like where we're heading. People are talking about it. People are talking about it. So, conference championship game being replaced by a wild card game. There are some concerns that I have. I mean, if you have a 3 versus a 4, and that 4th place team could be looking at it an at-large bid, and they get beat by a 3rd place team, that 4th place team might get hurt, might not get in that large bid. I'm just putting that out there. But Ross Dellinger did say the possibility of a 3 versus 4, and we heard that this morning. But there is a weakness to it, just like any other scenario that is going on. Split. Ross Dellinger was asked about a split. In the way, and we talked about it at the beginning of the show, Catalina and Smoke saying, what if the Big 12 and the ACC, what if the Big 10 and the SEC keeps pushing for more and more and more and more? And what if the Big 12 and the ACC calls their bluff and says, that's it, go your own way. We've had enough. Do you see that happening, Ross Dellinger? And Dellinger says it's very difficult for me to see it at this time, which has been our position at Peek Around the Corner. He said that ESPN would push back. They wouldn't want that to happen. He never brought up Fox Sports. But I think if he would have been asked about Fox Sports, Ross Dellinger would have said the same thing. But he went on for a little bit saying ESPN has too much invested in too many other parts of college football for them to want the SEC to split away. ESPN would not want that to happen. I've been saying that, and I've been saying that with Fox Sports as well. There's too much investment. Could it happen in 2031? Yes. And we will follow that story at Peek Around the Corner if it happens, right? We will talk about it. We're not going to have ourselves in a silo. Maybe it does occur. But for 2026, Dellinger says he doesn't see it happening. Ross Dellinger talked about the growing gap, the revenue gap. And he said something really obvious here. He brought it up at the end of the interview. He's saying, I'm adding a few words in there, but if you watch the interview, if you listen to the interview, he talks about Georgia, Florida State 10 years from now. If they didn't try to get out, if they don't get out, 10 years from now, it may be too late for those programs that have expectations to be competing for national championships, to get into the playoffs, to be a top brand school across the country. And this revenue distribution model, if it's that different between the ACC, he talked about it. He gave the figures again. Between the SEC and the ACC, the Big Ten and the ACC, it's just more fuel to the fire. That Florida State and Clemson, he brought up Clemson. They have to, you cannot blame them for doing what they're doing. Before I get to your comments and phone calls, there is one interesting part. We were told again here at Peek Around the Corner that the Big Ten, they are willing to give up. They're willing to go down in that 58%. The combination of them and the SEC. They're willing to never talk about exclusive first round buys again. As long, now a lot of you are going to get all upset here, but if they don't get the 58% along with the SEC, then they want those 4 qualifying spots. They want that back. And so we were told that today. Ross Dellinger, in his interview today at 365 Sports, brought up something. He said it in a different way when it comes to these automatic qualifying spots, because Smoke and Catalina, one of the Smokes, David Smoke, said, look, the Big Ten, most years they're going to get 3 automatic qualifying spots. The SEC, they're going to mostly likely get more than 3 spots. So why are they fighting for automatic qualifying spots so much? It doesn't make sense, because mathematically it shows that they're going to get that every year. First of all, Ross Dellinger answered that question in the way that we've all been answering it. He says, they want to make sure they get that much, many teams in the playoffs. The SEC and the Big Ten, they want to have the conference races. They want to have more eyeballs in November. The conference races, they want more value to their media partners. But then Ross Dellinger said it in a way that I haven't heard anybody say it. Ross Dellinger said the reason for these automatic qualifying spots is the Big Ten and the SEC. Don't want to worry about these losses. They want to, and he really focused in on the Big Ten, because the Big Ten is the one that wants as much automatic qualifying spots as possible. Again, told to us again this morning. Is because they want to eliminate all FCS scheduling. Ross Dellinger said that. Even G5 scheduling. Want the non-conference schedules to be huge. They want as many big brand versus big brand. They want to jack up the value of the conference to their media partner. For years down the road, when that next media contract happens, they want big games. And they don't want to worry about scheduling for wins. They don't want to worry about the losses. That's why they want the insurance of a of a 3 or 4 automatic qualifiers. They want 4. The Big Ten wants 4 because of that. They want their scheduling to look completely different. They want to have big contests. They want to schedule. They want to schedule the big brands playing each other in November. And they don't want to have to worry. They don't want to have to worry about scheduling themselves out of the playoffs for that 3rd team, for that 4th team, for that 5th team. That's the reason. So Ross Dellinger did not mention. To be fair, Ross Dellinger said earlier in that interview, and we said it earlier in this monologue, that the 4 automatic qualifiers for the SEC and the Big Ten shot down by the ACC and Big 12. The buys, the first round exclusive buys to the SEC and the Big Ten shot down by the ACC and the Big 12. The only difference that we have in our report and Peek Around the Corner is the Big Ten. They're willing to deal. They're willing to deal. They're willing to give more money. They're willing to go less than 58%, them in SEC. But in return, they want that 4th qualifying spot. Just giving you the straight shoot. Just giving you the straight shoot. I am going to open up the phone lines. You could talk about Georgia. We talked early in the monologue, we talked about Georgia, a sense of urgency. They're absolutely stacked for next year. They're deep. They're going to be a tough out. So, talk about Georgia, talk about your team, talk about what you're thinking about. For your team in this spring, practices are starting. What do you want to see? What are you afraid of? I'm going to be asking you. But then talk about the CFP update. What do you think? CCG's conference championship games, they might disappear. Interesting. Ross Dellinger. Very, very interesting. Okay, let me open up the phone lines. Phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. The phone lines are open. Let me know what you're thinking. You got your head on a swivel? Any updates you can give me? Sounds like the Big Ten and SEC don't have the power that they had, that they thought they had. We'll see what happens by the end of the week. But like we reported at Peek Around the Corner, it's not like the ESPN wants to split. It's not like Fox Sports wants to split. And I think the Big 12 and ACC has been pushing back. Now, if you hear, other people are saying different things. My reporting, what I'm hearing, basically matches up with what Ross Dellinger reported today. But Josh Pate has a completely different take on what's going on. He believes that the SEC and the Big Ten are artificially throwing out things that the ACC and the Big 12 cannot absorb, cannot agree to. So then the Big Ten and the SEC can say, we tried. And then they split. Nobody that I've talked to believes that. But Josh Pate does, and he has his sources. So there are other people saying different things. Again, give us a call. 763-260-1333. Christopher Shannon, Notre Dame to the SEC since they're bad blood with the Big Ten. I don't think so. I mean, there's always a chance, but I don't think so. I would want to, if my third best team was Penn State. He's talking about the Big Ten wanting that fourth automatic qualifying spot. Everyone wants the Porsche, not the VW, Terry Kane. Negotiating, Stephen Vitt, negotiating at the CFP tables like going to the Las Vegas casino. No matter what play you make, you lose. Roman Maroney, I got it. 128 team playoffs started in September, and we eliminate the regular season, and everyone gets a trophy. Holy smokes. All Canes Day, thank you so much for your super chat. I appreciate your generosity. How can the Big 12 and the ACC be aligned against the SEC and the Big 10 on the CFP structure, but yet your mark will pounce on the ACC's left behinds once the SEC and the Big 10 are done eating? Fishy. I think your mark can walk and chew gum at the same time. I think he can have, he can work with the ACC to make sure that the SEC and the Big Ten don't take too big of bites. But your mark is thinking about the future, and Phillips knows that your mark is thinking about the future. Phillips is sitting there going, your mark is pushing the look-in before 2028. If there's realignment, your mark is pushing for that clause. Phillips knows why your mark is pushing for that clause. But Big 12 probably, I would. Now, this has not been reported, and it hasn't been told to us, but you got to think that there is common ground between the Big 12 and the ACC, absorbing what the SEC and the Big 10 are putting out there on the table, and then maybe bringing back into the argument about an expanded NCAA tournament. Tourney credits, how those are going to be distributed. So there is common ground for the Big 12 and the ACC to work together, even though, like you said, Canes all day, your mark will pounce if that opportunity arises. And I got a feeling that opportunity will arise. Thank you so much for the super chat. I do appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. Thank you to Rodney Wood, Anthony Carlson, Canes all day for your generosity to the channel. That's the question, isn't it? The architect. What will the ACC and the Big 12 choose? Money or access? Either way, they bleed. And that's the thing about the Big 10 and the SEC. I think there is a difference of what they covet the most. I think for Big 10, it's as many automatic qualifying spots as they can get. For the SEC, it's the high distribution percentage money that they get. For the SEC, it's money. For the Big 10, it's access. And what they covet the most. On the ACC and the Big 12, I think it's probably money for ACC. And I'm not sure about the Big 12. Very good, very good comment, the architect. Adam Vulture, your mark is playing for broke. He's all in. Stephen McNeely, breakaway Big Ten and the SEC. We double dog dare you. Oh, yes. And I forgot. My bad. Ross Dellinger was also asked. And again, please check out 365 Sports interview with Ross Dellinger earlier today. It ended right before we popped on live. I was taking notes. I was listening. We came on live. But please listen to the whole thing. Do not take my word for it. Listen to what Ross Dellinger said. He was asked about the split. He didn't think it was, he said it's not likely for the reasons we've talked about. Ross Dellinger said ESPN wouldn't want it. They would push back on it. So would Fox Sports. He said, if they asked him if they do split and they had their own playoffs, project what the SEC and the Big Ten would make in a playoff of just themselves. So Ross Dellinger said 34 teams, and he said it's not enough teams. And and he said 18 playoff or 12-team playoff, he thought they wouldn't get $1.3 billion. Now, of course, it'd be distributed to less teams, but he didn't think they would get $1.3 billion. So that was interesting. Now, those schools would make more money. Don't get it twisted. For the playoff distribution. But it ain't like they're doubling it. There ain't like they're, it ain't like someone's going to offer them. He said they would make less. So that was interesting. The schools would make more, but the pie wouldn't match the $1.3 billion. He doesn't think it's happening. I don't think it's happening. I have other reasons why I don't think it's happening. Maybe Ross Dellinger shares those opinions. He probably doesn't, because I'm really harsh. I don't think Petiti and Sankey has the grapefruits to do it. I don't think they have the skill set to do it. I don't think they have the time to do it. I don't think they're gamblers like this. Maybe I'm going to be wrong. Maybe by the end of the week, I'll be taking the biggest L on this channel. We'll see. We shall see. That's what Dellinger said. Yeah. Can't ESPN dump the ACC soon? Would they save a lot of money? Yeah, they would save some. But the ACC network makes some money. So you have to count that. They're not going to be making that revenue if the ACC falls. Plus the ESPN is, they're invested in the Big 12. They're invested in G5 conferences. They're invested in all these bowl games. They have investments everywhere. And they make money on them. And they make money on the ACC. They don't want the ACC to implode. I think people are on one hand, the Big Ten and the SEC are going to use it as leverage, the possibility to split away in 2026. But on the other hand, man, there is a ton of hurdles they have to jump over, burning hoops they would have to jump through. Do you see them really doing that in the day where there's all these court cases going on?
Call from
Crab Cakes and Football.
Crab Cakes and Football. Mr. Terrapin is on the line. The floor is yours, sir.
What happens if ESPN pulls out and they don't get anything resolved within that time frame? What happens then?
Then we're in trouble. Crab Cakes and Football. Then we are in trouble. Dellinger, how he said it was, by the end of the week, they really need to have the distribution model finish. And then it would be beneficial if they would accept the ESPN offer officially. He was not hopeful on that point that it would be done by this week. The accepting of the offer. But that is like the most that they can get done this week is get the distribution model done and then accept the offer, get all that done by the end of the week. That's the most that they're going to get done if they get that done. It seemed like, you go listen to the interview yourself. It seemed like Dellinger wasn't, he believes the clock is ticking. I don't think he believes it's absolutely by the end of the week. But they are going to meet. They are going to talk. He talked about how Yormark is going to be talking with his athletic directors in the Big 12 Tuesday, tomorrow, Wednesday, to get more information flowing. Then he's going to go back, talk to the commissioners.
So can Fox or somebody still come in with a counteroffer? Because I know ESPN's tied to it for a couple more years. I forget the exact details. So because if they can do the revenue model, $1.3 billion, which I think is actually a low ball for the way things are going now, but I could be wrong, and everything else, then and they don't get it done and approved, and ESPN's like, you know what, we're just going to yank it or whatever and go back to what we have now. Or that's what I'm trying to figure out is what's the fallout from something like that? Staying with what they've already agreed for the next 2 years, or?
Well, yeah, it's all settled for 24 and 25.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, so it would reopen the bid. But it would be scary to do so, because there is no guarantee that they're going to match what that offer of $1.3 billion from ESPN.
All right.
So it would be scary, and we don't want to see that. I don't want to see it, but maybe we will by the end of the week.
And now I've heard all three of your plans. What was that one that you said it was like 2-2-1-1-1-1 or
Ross
something like
Dellinger
that?
said the three models that are being socialized. 3-3-2-2-1-3, which is the one that's being put out there the most. 2-2-1-1-1-7.
1-1-7. Okay.
Yeah, and 5.
Because that one sounds like a good one.
And 5+9.
5+9, I'm not too crazy of because it has the one for the G5 that barely make it, but that probably would go to Notre Dame anyway, so maybe.
Well, they all have G5 in them. G5 is in each one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying not to call first.
Yeah.
It seems like I always call first.
No problem.
So I was like, you know what? I'll let somebody else call first, and nobody called.
You are Terrapin. You are a great leadoff man. You get on base. That's all we're asking for you to get on base.
Hey, that works for me.
All
right, man. Go Terps. Have fun.
You got it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Chris Hughes, if I am ESPN, I would drip my offer to $1.2 billion and give the commissioners 30 days. It would be very interesting to see what happens. Chris Hughes wants ESPN to play hardball. Thank you so much for your generosity, Hughes. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much.
Call from
Edward, the Auburn Tiger.
to accept
Edward, the Auburn Tiger. Holy smokes. The floor is yours, sir.
Hello, Greg. It's my first time calling.
Beautiful.
I love your show from afar. You do a great job. So first time calling in.
Thank you.
I think when you look over the last couple of years of college football and what's been happening, you can see trend lines just from observing. Number one, SEC signs that big deal with ESPN, with Florida. Next thing you know, here comes Oklahoma, here comes Texas. Almost a year later, here you have UCLA, USC joins the Big Ten. I want to believe that January of the following year, Ohio State cancels the game with Washington. Remember Washington's president getting all upset publicly.
Yep. Good.
Unfair. This is unfair. This is not right. You know, a month later, Oklahoma and Texas officially finalizes the deal with the Big 12. I remember you making a phrase saying that Fox had to be made whole, which means Fox is working with ESPN, ESPN is working with Fox. They're coordinating with the Big 12. But I do want to go back and say this. Fox and ESPN, when Oklahoma and Texas was moved, they knew the position of the Big 12, that it was going to go under. They also knew they had to coordinate with the Pac-12. Pac-12 couldn't get a deal. ESPN and Fox involved in that. I think May that year, a thing come up about the Big Ten's deal, how it wasn't whole. And then next thing you know, here comes Colorado joining the Big 12, and you have Washington and Oregon joining the Big Ten, which I believe the day that Washington president was all upset about Ohio State, I absolutely believe that they all knew that Oregon and Washington was going to the Big Ten. And so now you have almost the demise of the ACC. You have these schools coordinating the Elite Eight, or what do you call those 8 schools, coordinating the league, the ACC. So you see the Big 12, you see the Pac-12, now the ACC. These teams are leaving. Everybody knows about the gold rush in 2026. Now you heard that SEC, Big Ten joining together, and then you hear Fox and ESPN joining together. And so I'm saying all this, it seems to be that no matter how much chaos there is, there seems to be a trend, there seems to be movement, and it seems to be an invisible hand causing this.
Yeah.
And I don't think the players involved, I don't think that they are totally oblivious what's going on. They know exactly what's going on. Yeah. Because all of these moves, even though publicly they're saying one thing, privately, we're seeing different things happen. I mean, from each conference, Pac-12, Big 12, now the ACC, no one ever dreamed of SEC Big Ten getting together. No one ever dreamed of Fox and ESPN coming together. And another thing, Greg, that just blew my mind, you know, everyone would say now that the Big Ten is a major player, got these new teams, Fox seems to be stepping forward. Everyone was pretty sure that when it came to the college football playoff, that there was going to be multiple bidders. And what do you have?
Yes.
ESPN again.
Yes.
And so I don't think you can ignore all that and pretend like there ain't nothing really happening, like everything just kind of going haphazard together. There's a plan in place, and I believe there always has been. And regardless of what's been said in public, regardless of what's been said through the media, this is playing out like some people know it should be played out. What do you think about that, Greg?
Well, I first of all, unbelievable call. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Please call again, Auburn Tiger. You're right. I mean, there's a lot of examples of this invisible hand. I always said, you know, there's many examples, but I'll use the Colorado one. The Colorado one, we had information that they met May 7th in Chicago. We called it the big hot bubble of action. We told people on April 28th to May 17th, something big was happening. We couldn't get into the details of it. The Colorado thing, I mean, the reason why he just became commissioner, the reason why he was throwing all of his chips, He was using all of his IOU. He was using his early political capital as a new commissioner. The reason he was throwing all that in to get the tip of the spear, Colorado, to get over, is because the invisible hand, like you said, he was being told, like the reporters were being told, like some of them shared their information with me, that ESPN and Fox were not interested anymore in this one region West Coast conference.
That's right.
Yep. So your Mark, yeah, he's a confident guy, yada da da, but he also had confidence because the invisible hand, as you called it, was telling him, "Go, keep going, keep pushing, go,
Yeah.
keep doing it."
Look at this, Greg. Yeah, look at this. You have all of these variables. I mean, so many variables that I've named, and there's a lot of variables I haven't named. Now, what is the chances of all these pieces moving, and all of a sudden they seem to be following a timeline? They're all connected. They all seem to be moving in harmony with each other, no matter the chaos. I think many times we get our eyes on the chaos when people are saying, but look, friends, look at the facts we do know. We know it's about money.
Yeah.
We know that irregardless of what people think, Pac-12 has been affected, ACC's now been affected, and the Big 12 has been affected. So for someone to say, oh, they wouldn't do this or they wouldn't do that, they've already shown us it is being done. It is being done. Mm-hmm. And so I honestly believe, even though I love your show, I honestly believe that a lot of us probably going to be taking an L this week, because I absolutely believe that the Big Ten and the SEC are leaving. Mm-hmm. They have always had a plan. And the invisible hand, Fox and ESPN, has always been involved in this. And I honestly believe that the CBS crowd, this time, they haven't always been accurate, but I believe this time they are hitting the nail right up. They're hitting the hammer. They hit the nail right on the hammer with the hammer.
Got it.
Because I even heard, what's the guy? What's the big reporter for CBS? And listen, you have been wrong. Yeah, sir. You have been right more than anybody out there. I just want to go ahead and say that. But Dennis Dahl was asked the question that he answered it, but it's like he said that he wasn't supposed to be saying it. Mm-hmm. He said that they had opportunity to make double what they're making now. Now, think about this, Greg, okay? Let's just say this 14-team playoff goes through, okay? You have your major players, your Michigans, your Ohio States, your Alabamas, your Georgias, your LSUs, your Oregons and all them. And then you have the Big 12 and your ACC teams in the one group of five. Compare that to your Ohio States, Michigans, your Oregons, your Alabamas, your Tennessees, your Clemsons, your Florida States, your Miamis. I mean, the real big name brands. There's no way they're making less. Absolutely. There's too many eyeballs going to be on that playoff. And I absolutely believe that ESPN and Fox knows, and I want to say this last thing, and I'll let you
got it.
To take my call.
Yeah.
Think about this, Greg. We're living in a time that money is tight in the media industry.
Yep.
Therefore, you have to be creative. Have to be creative to make money. And to me, this is creativity right here. When you have things the way they're moving, and to take the money that could be on the table from not even the broadcast, but think about the what do you call that when companies are buying time? What do you call that? The commercials and everything.
Ad buy.
Advertisements and everything. Yeah. Tailor made. And then the report that Thelma put out, that you cannot ignore. He said, and I quote, there was people in the SEC that were strongly behind breaking away. I don't think you can ignore those things, but listen, I want to hear your response, and I'll shut up. I've been talking, but thank you. It's a privilege calling in.
Beautiful. Appreciate it. Mr. Alvin Tiger, call again, sir.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Beautiful. Beautiful. When Dennis Dodd says that they can make double, I would agree with that. that could be. Now, there is costs associated with all this. It's not just all benefit. There is a lot of risk, especially if you do it in 2026. The court cases, the NCAA versus the House, and all this stuff going on. Do they really want to get these politicians that be on the SEC's and the Big Ten's back at this point in time? Politicians that represent locations in which the schools would be permanently out of the Power 2 playoff access and all that. Everything that the Mr. Auburn Tiger said is I agree with. But I do not agree with the timing. That is my hold on one second, everybody. Hold on. We got a little bit of technical problem here. Technical issues. We're okay. Hold on. Okay, I think we're back. Okay, I agree with everything that. Still trying to get this thing.
Call from
KV.
Who is this? What? Hello? What's
KV.
Steve?
KV.
Okay, can you hold on for just a moment, sir?
Yes, sir.
I was having a little bit of technical problems. I think we're okay. I do want to just come to the conclusion on Mr. Auburn Tiger was a brilliant phone call. I agree with everything he said. The only thing I don't agree with is the timing. With all these court cases going on, I don't think it happens now. And also, I think there would be more evidence that this was a grand plan for this to happen for 2026. In other words, I don't think Big Ten and ESPN would have invested as much as they did with the Big 12. That's a lot of money, that Big 12 contract that's going on for 6 years. No, it's not. It's not SEC and Big Ten money, but it's a lot of money. So that to me, that happened October 30th, 2022. So this consolidation, yes, it's been going on for a while. Is it going to continue to happen? Yes, it's going to continue to happen. Could we be seeing a different economic structure 4 or 5 years from now where the major conferences actually fracture? We don't know. Can the Power 2 split happen? Yes, I've always said that. But I don't think it's going to happen in 2026. But like Auburn Tiger said, I and others could be taking a big L by the end of the week. We shall see. Caller, thank you for your patience. The floor is yours.
Yes, sir. It seems the statement you made about Tony Bettini saying that he was going to wanted to strengthen the schedule of his members, and that he was scared that that they may take a few more losses and not get many teams in, is probably a good thought. The Stanky though they won't even go to 9 games, and almost 3/4 of their out of conference games are against Troy or Southeast Louisiana, so they're guaranteed wins. So it's funny that they're partners in bed because they're negotiating with cross purposes. If they would all agree to go to 9 conference games and play each conference, for example, your Minnesota Golden Gophers played TCU and LSU and Boston College for the out of conference games, where they all had strong conference games. then Bettini's system would be fine, and everybody would earn their money, because they would be playing equal schedules, more like the NFL or something does.
Yeah.
But Sankey's just trying to get his teams in, and by doing that, keeping 9-3 records where all the 3 losses are in conference, and they can't negotiate together like that if they have cross purposes.
Yeah.
And that was my takeaway from Dellinger and what you said about your Big Ten source.
Yeah. Yep. So if you have those automatic qualifiers, the theory is that, Big Ten schools, we went through it. They could upgrade their schedule, right? They could even go possibly to that 10th conference game sometime down the line.
Yeah, but put everybody's schedule on an equal playing field, and then it doesn't matter. The best teams are going to get in if the system's transparent, where it's not somebody crapping on Florida State.
Yeah. I agree, sir. Beautiful.
Well, that's my call.
You got it.
Called in a couple of months.
You got it. I
Good
appreciate
job.
it. Call again.
Will do.
Excellent job. Your mark is feasting on.
Jordan, go back in here and work.
Patrick, your mark is feasting off Bob Bowlesby's success. Bob Bowlesby did do the expansion to grab BYU, Houston. That expansion, Cincinnati, that expansion not only helped the Big 12, but it helped where the Pac-12 didn't have candidates to where they could expand, to weaken the Pac-12. So you give Bowlesby, give him the flowers on that one, but getting that October 30th, 2022 contract done with ESPN and Fox. On that day, we did a live show at Peek Around the Corner, and we said Brett Yormark hit a home run and that the Pac-12 was going to be in trouble because of the exposure part. Whatever contract they were going to get, and they didn't get one, it was going to be very, very light on exposure. Pac-12's in trouble. Yormark hit a home run, and when I said that, I got raked over the coals everywhere. So it wasn't Yormark hit that was his victory. His victory alone on that. And the Big 12 presidents that gave him the room and the space to make that deal. And then gave him the room and the space to expand and to poach the Pac-12. Yormark has earned the flowers that he's gotten, in my opinion.
Call from
Jamie Thornton.
Jamie Thornton, Mrs. Arkansas Razorback. The floor is yours. How you doing?
Hey, Greg, not too bad today. Just another day of, battling the elements. But same kind of thing with, this whole college football insanity instead of enjoying spring football.
Yeah.
Here we are, so I guess this is going to linger on forever, but it's very interesting. I didn't catch the very beginning of your show. I did catch what you were talking about with the Big Ten and kind of their hard lines, right? What they're like, hey, we have to get this, where we have to get 58% revenue, it sounds like, or we have to get 4 AQs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. I haven't heard the SEC. I haven't heard anything as far as the actual hard lines, but I have heard the same thing that Auburn was talking about that called in, that there are a lot of SEC presidents that are in favor. Of course, it's about money for a lot of these people, but I'm just curious, through all these negotiations, obviously, that's going on right now, it's very interesting to me. The more I was thinking about this, like you said, when you talked about a 2026 deadline for a possible breakaway, if Sankey and the SEC isn't happy with what they get, and obviously, like you said, he's aggravated. You can see it. He's, frustrated. I just wonder if there is even any alternative plan in place, right? Like, you talked about that with the cards, with the bluffing and everything going on. I'm just really curious what their stance is as far as the SEC goes. And I don't know if you have any idea on that or not, or if you've heard anything on that or not.
No, I mean,
because I haven't.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Because
I do believe the clock is ticking. I am not totally convinced we have by the end of the week to get this for college football, the powers that be to accept the ESPN's deal. I think if they're working towards a deal, I think, I don't think it's necessarily by the end of this week. I don't know what the backup plan for the CFP contract would be. It's open up for bidding, right? I mean, it ain't going to be the end of the world. And
that's what I was going to say and get to, right? Everyone's talking about this option, right? Like the whole Power 2 breakaway possibly if nothing gets approved upon or are done.
Yeah.
But what alternative out there is there, right? Like these guys, we have no idea. I mean, and who knows? Maybe when Sankey and Bettini put this commission together, maybe that's one of the things they're looking at is exploring, if possible, even a breakaway. But it proves to me with how recent all this came out and started that they don't really have a backup plan or plans in place already on how they would go about doing this. I mean, it takes time with everything going on.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting hearing that about, you said 34 teams, I believe I caught that they said, or 34 schools, that it wouldn't be enough.
Well, that was Ross Dellinger's opinion. And getting back to what Auburn Tigers said and what you said about people in the SEC saying that they support a breakaway. I've only seen reports on that they support a breakaway from the NCAA. There's nobody on record for sure saying, we need to break away from the Big 12, the ACC, and everybody else. I think when they say breakaway, that report was about breaking away from the NCAA.
Yeah, I know that
so
for sure. Yeah,
sure
they're tired of that.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And not to get everybody confused on that. But this just goes to my thing. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is either one of two things. If they've managed to do this in secret already and have it planned out, and this is all just, because I know some people have been like, well, Fox, nobody else has tried to get involved in this, only ESPN. And, of course, they're the ones that set the deadline, and maybe they have all this orchestrated, right, like where it's, well, we're going to make it, as Josh Pate said, where we can say, well, we tried, we did everything we could, and now we're going to launch the Power 2. But, it's just, to me, the more you think about that kind of thing, there's been this whole venture between the Big and the SEC has just recently started. Mm-hmm. And same thing even with this. Now, I mean, I know some of this work goes on behind the scenes and stuff happens ahead of time, like the ESPN Fox app that they've launched or going to be launching. But it's just like you said, that's been, if this happened, right? Like if Sankey gets so mad and aggravated and they say, okay, and the Big Ten doesn't get what they want and say, we're going to break away. Where do you even start on that when it comes to planning and to be able to do all that? And then and of course, you're dealing with media contract, you're dealing with media partners. Obviously the Big has a lot and the SEC has ESPN. There's just so much on here to make me think they're going to try to get something done. I mean, that's just how I feel about it. But, we won't know until it possibly happens. And then that's, on the other side of things with your Brett Yormark, obviously you're pushing to try to get all these things in you can if you're on the Big 12 side of it. But where do you draw the line? You say, okay, well, we believe you're bluffing, Sankey, but at what point do you lose out? Because, if they did break away, what do those schools do? What do they end up doing? What does the Big 12 and the ACC and the G5, what kind of system do they come up with? And then it just becomes chaos because it becomes, it almost becomes Monty-fied, sorry to use that word. Because then it's like, how do you declare a real champion? It's just, you got UCF claiming they were champions one year. So anyway, I hope, like I said, for the goodness of the sport, everybody knows I'm an SEC Arkansas person, but it would be terrible. It would just be terrible to know that you can't even really call yourself the true champion. If you don't have everybody involved. It would just be like we're taking the best teams from the NFL over the Super Bowl champions, best teams in the playoffs over the last so many years, and leaving the rest of them out. And then whoever wins is the champion. It's just not how it works,
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right.
Didn't really add much more to it than that, but that was my big thing for calling in, was if you'd heard anything about what their hard lines are going to be as far as thanking in the SEC goes. Obviously they're trying to use their leverage, but it's just a good question.
I don't know. I don't know about a hard deadline. I do think, according to Ross Dellinger at 365 Sports, we have to narrow down our expectations by this week. Basically, it's about revenue distribution model. It ain't going to be about a format. There's not going to be resolution about a format and voting model. Strictly this week is about nailing down the distribution model.
Got you. That's awesome, Greg. Thanks for letting me know that. And let's hope that Phillips doesn't get in the way. That was such a great show. I went back and watched the other night. Mm-hmm. About, if anybody missed it, they really should go back and watch that show, your show from last night, because you're talking about putting fuel on the fire, the numbers already. And I don't know if maybe you can go over that again one day where you can show how extreme these media deals are going to get the gap between like the ACC and the Big Ten SEC over the next, from 2027 going forward. And then you just add an extra 10, 12 million a school on top of that for the playoffs. It's not good. So I hope, like you said, that Phillips doesn't try to, cause this whole thing to blow up. But anyway, you have a great one, Greg.
You got it. Appreciate it. Great call. Rock and Rant, Mr. Hurricane, thank you so much for your generosity, super chat. Random thought, Rock and Rant. If ESPN and Fox thought about screwing over their new Big 12 deal, devaluing it, but making a ton more from a P2, they would not think twice. Disney just did it to EA games in a way. But it's not as... sure, but if this was planned out, if everything's been planned out, and since Texas and Oklahoma called the SEC, then they would have made the deal, that type of deal with the Big 12 anyways. To me, there is not enough evidence that there has been this grand coordination to get all this done by 2026, this P2 breakaway. ESPN and Fox have done too many things. They've given value to content outside of the P2 at such a high level. It doesn't ring true to me. And then, of course, we are. Look at this. We've got Dartmouth. We got the Big East Commissioner saying nobody's ready for college athletic employment, and the arrangement may not be what they expect. That just came out. The Big East Commissioner. We have got so many changes going on. There is too many unknowns in 2026 for a Petiti and a Sankey to now do this big old other major thing. I'm not buying it. And now I could be wrong. Okay? I could be wrong. But I'm not buying it, and I don't think Yormark's buying it. I don't think Phillips is buying it. I don't think Yormark's buying it because of a relationship with ESPN and Fox. It doesn't mean that the SEC and the Big Ten don't have a whole bunch of leverage. Of course they do. Of course they do. Because they could play real hardball with the Big 12. They could isolate themselves from Big 12 with scheduling. There's things they can do. A lot of hardball being played. A lot of elbows being thrown. I just don't see it for 2026. I've never seen it.
Call from
Anthony Manzano.
Anthony Manzano, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling, sir.
Hi, Greg. How are you today? I'm doing well myself. Greg, I have a question. Do these negotiation contracts, the negotiation with the SEC, the SEC, ABC, and ESPN specifically, do they get affected with Disney specifically selling those networks off to other people? Like, do these contracts get, like, these negotiation contracts, do they get affected by because Disney owns Fox, ABC, and ESPN? So do they get affected? Do these contracts get a
no? If somebody goes and buys ESPN from Disney, then whoever bought ESPN has those media contracts, those distribution contracts that they have to fulfill.
No, that's why I'm asking. Let's say ESPN and Disney are in the middle of renegotiating the contracts with the SEC, and Disney and they're able to complete the contract. Does that finished contract transition to the new owners, or does it still apply to Disney?
Yes.
And stuff like that.
Yeah. It would just roll over to the new owner, the new media company, whatever that media company is.
Okay, yeah, because I've always wondered about these media contracts. If the current company who owns that network sells the company and they already have the established media rights contract, or they're in the middle of negotiations and stuff like that, do those negotiations become null and void, and they have to start over with the new company?
No.
Okay. Yeah, and Greg,
yep.
What I was with Miami specifically, a lot of people I keep on hearing reports. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but apparently Miami wants to get into SEC specifically, and the SEC might do what they did to, I know Florida has a lot of equity in the conference because they're grandfathered in, so they won't be able to get worked around by the other members like Alabama or Georgia, who have had more consistent championship pedigree and stuff like that, and brought money into the conference. Can Bama and Georgia actually, being that they're basically the powers of the last 10 years, go around Florida like they did with Texas A&M, and when they brought in Texas to the conference, do it with Miami also and stuff like that?
Well, I think Alabama. I don't think Alabama and Florida, or I don't think any of those schools have a veto over any expansion, but they probably have a lot of internal influence in the conference, more than Texas A&M.
No, that's why I'm asking. So Florida has enough equity in the conference to have enough veto power to not allow even though I
think they have more influence than a Texas A&M.
Because like I said earlier, they've been in the conference for almost 40 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I would bet against them being able to get enough votes to go against Sankey and ESPN, though. It's going to be interesting to watch. But I think if Sankey and ESPN decides to target somebody, it
would be Clemson over Miami.
Let me finish. I think they'll have enough votes in the SEC to add that school, whatever it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the media, back to media rights. You said if it just the contract wouldn't, the new contract wouldn't start if, let's say, we were talking about the contract earlier. If, let's say, the contract is finished negotiating with ESPN and the SEC with Disney, and within the next 6 months, we find out that Disney has sold ABC, Fox, and to another company, does the new contract not start? Does it start with Disney or start with the new company? That's what confuses me about these media rights contracts and distribution contracts for these conferences and stuff like that. Greg, can you explain that to me when I get off on the show?
The contract starts when the contract starts. It doesn't matter if whatever media company signs it, if it gets bought off by somebody else, it doesn't affect the contract. The starting date's the
okay, so
date.
it starts with the company who signed the contract,
yes,
but
of
it
course.
transfers over to the new company.
Yeah.
Media rights contracts don't work like you see with regular contracts when someone buys a house or something like that.
Mortgages get bought and sold all the time. It doesn't change. It doesn't change. The owner keeps. Yeah, nothing's going to change.
Some of these minutiae
I
things
wouldn't worry
confuse
about
me.
it. I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah. Thank you for explaining that, because some of those minutiae things confuse me as just a layman fan.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that, Greg. Have a good day.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the call, sir. Okay, let's see here. I'm just checking a message. If you haven't done so yet, or if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and open up your notifications, because we can come on live at any time. We've done it in the morning, done it in the noon, done it in the evening. We open up live late at night. We've been on twice in one day. Breaking news, we cover it. We do episodes for memberships only. So please subscribe, get your notifications on, and then smash the like button if you like our content. If you want to become a member of our show, there is a link provided in the description. Hit the link, hit the join button, become a member. Cloak and Dagger, early peak episodes for members only. You can find them in the YouTube channel. We drop a little bit of Cloak and Dagger information once or twice a week. If you're interested, hit the join button and become a member of Early Peak Cloak and Dagger. On this show.
Call from
Hidden Hawaiian.
Hawaiian is on the line. What is going on, sir? The floor
Hey, what's
yours.
good, Greg? Hey, I want to be real quick, Greg. I've been supporting you guys, but I did want to state real quick, and I'm going to be pretty quick with it, but I put it in the comments earlier. I was saying, I've worked with X Games and stuff on a few things. So, I know a little bit about what's happening with the media landscape right now. Now it's a different sport, obviously, but I will tell you that the money isn't as much there as I think people believe it to be. Right now, what ESPN is doing is they're playing it conservative because a lot of the media landscape right now is concerned about what's going to happen later on. A lot of leagues like the X Games and NFL and really anybody are going to start creating its own revenue generating stuff through its own distribution. And companies like ESPN and Fox are looking at the college model to build them out, in my opinion. But what I think is going to happen, and what I think your mark and the Big 12 and the ACC, their best option, in my opinion, and if your mark is smart, which he seems to be, and if he is somebody that knows how the media landscape is going, I think what he's going to do is try to pull private equity from other companies. So an option that we could see happen in the very near future, if there was to be a split. Now, I'm just predicting things right now. I don't know if this would happen, but I could see this happening, is if the SEC and the Big Ten want to rely on Fox and ESPN money, they could. But what the ACC and the Big 12 and the rest of college football would probably try to do is they would try to pull private equity from as many ad sponsors and things as they can to create their own value. And that's kind of the thing that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, that I'd like to hear you, what's your opinion on how that could be feasible, right? Because like I said, X Games and all these leagues, they're already starting to think this way. They're going more towards the sponsors and creating their own distribution rather than relying on the ESPNs and Foxes of the world. So, Greg, tell me what you think.
Well, yes. I mean, the NFL created the NFL Network, right? The NBA created NBA Super League. Even the Big Ten created the Big Ten Network over a decade ago. The SEC created the SEC Network. They're getting more juice. They're becoming and then of course we see this potential. We don't know if it's going to happen, right? ESPN and Fox and Warner Brothers Discovery combining on this. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. They want more ownership. Go ahead.
What I could see it going, though, is because I know people think back to TV. They think back to when TV channels, NFL Network didn't do too well, MLB, whatever network. The thing is, they're moving away from even that model. What I could see happening is that, and with the streaming is going to be more of a popular thing. So in order to generate your revenue and stuff, you can create your own distribution, but the streamers are going to be paying for the rights. And this is why ESPN and all these Warner Brothers and stuff, they're all gearing up for this because they're going to be paying for each entity. For instance, X Games, right? Who wants the rights to the X Games? Got you. Yeah. ESPN is worried right now because they know really the only teams that are still relying on them is the college football model. That's why right now they're trying to get the most value out of college football because the schools are still relying on this. But if your mark or somebody like ACC, Big 12 was to think, why are we relying on them when we can create our own, right? Like I said, now you are actually thinking ahead of the game in a sense where this is where the market trend is going. So that's kind of why I was thinking this could be a possibility. Now, I'm not sure, I'm not sure how they would do it because this is very new territory for college football and college
sports. It's a huge gamble. But getting private equity involved, building out your own.
But I know your mark has a lot of pull with Endeavor and stuff, and that's something you have to think about. They have majority of the sports landscape right now, so that's kind of why I was thinking, he seems like a smart guy that thinks like this. Now, what he's probably also thinking is when it comes to, the provisions and stuff, he knows that in reality, you're going to have to combine this, right? You can't have all these separate. So he probably does want his vision. I could definitely see whether the ACC likes it or not. He knows this. He knows that they're going to have to consolidate this. And that's why he's like, look, at some point, hopefully the Big 12 can kind of eat this up or they can combine a little bit. And that way, that deal makes more sense for Endeavor. But a lot of people are forgetting. I think people are like, Big 12 truck conference. Now they actually have some of the most value with its TV markets because they don't no longer have just Iowa anymore. They actually have Orlando, Cincinnati, Houston. They are on par now with many of these TV markets in the future. So that's why when you guys talk about ESPN and these companies, you're right. They don't want to leave them out of the equation now because of the value that they have.
Yeah, I could not have said it better myself. In fact, I know I could not have said it better myself. Hidden Hawaiian, that was a beautiful phone call. Please call
brother.
again.
Like I said, I'm coming at it from from an X Games athlete point. I'm not a big
look, hey,
but
I'm an X Games athlete. You can just see it in me. The fat guy from Minnesota.
Yeah, brother. Hey, look, it's fun though. I've seen a lot of these big suit guys. I've seen these type of guys and how they think. This is how they think. And right now they're thinking, how can we distribute the content rather than relying on ESPNs of the world? They know that. They know this. And I think Brett Yormark is one of those type of suits that I've seen. He's one of these guys that I think he's thinking this way. So we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't be surprised. I think that would be the trick up his sleeve. If there was something, that would be it, in my opinion.
Appreciate it. Great call.
Hey, Greg.
White. Please call
Take it
again,
easy, brother.
sir.
Love it.
Thank you.
Oh, my God.
Hidden Hawaiian. Holy smokes. Great call. I hope he calls again. Hidden Hawaiian, I hope you call again. If you don't get in trouble, if you don't call again, Hidden Hawaiian, if you don't call again, the fat guy from Minnesota is going to enter some X Games. Going to do that skateboarding or whatever it is. I'm going to embarrass all you young people out there. So call again, Hidden Hawaiian. I appreciate it. Great call. Unbelievable, great call. John Teal, Super Chat. All San Diego State had to say was we want in the Big 12. I don't think that would have been enough. But I do think that San Diego State, and we said it at the time, was putting too many of their eggs in one basket, the Pac-12 basket. They should have gotten closer. Relationships matter in realignment. They did not get close to Brett Yormark. They had the opportunity. San Diego State blew it, in my opinion. It might have not made a difference anyways, but they did not form that relationship with Mr. Brett Yormark or the Big 12 certain athletic directors, like Texas Tech, like Baylor. Anyways, thank you for that super chat, John Teal. And John Teal, once again, could the ACC 7 dip out and join the Big East and the UConn? No. It wouldn't make them any. It wouldn't make them any money. I'm not a big believer in the Magnificent Seven being able to form their own conference. I think whoever leaves out of the ACC, whoever can get out, if Florida State can get out, I think they're going to the SEC or the Big Ten. And then there's some other schools that if they get out are going to go to the SEC, Big Ten, or the Big 12. I'm not a big believer in that scenario. But thank you, John Teal, for your super chat. I do appreciate your continued and long time generosity to this channel. And the evil badger, Ryan Willie. Greg, even when I'm being generous, I prefer being called the evil badger. And you know what, Ryan? I think I can accommodate you on that. I think this Golden Gopher, the fat guy from Minnesota, I think that's the one thing I can do for my friend, Wisconsin Badger, Ryan Willie, continue to call you the evil badger, but you are very generous to the show. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you, good sir. We're going to close it up for this live show. We've been on the air for a little bit over 2 hours. A lazy Monday afternoon, late Monday afternoon, early evening. We talked about Georgia. We had to talk about Georgia. They're starting the spring practice tomorrow. They are stacked. If you missed it, go back earlier in our monologue. We talked about the Bulldogs. We broke down an article from The Athletic, a lot of great information. And then we talked about Ross Dellinger's interview with 365 Sports Today. He gave his CFP updates today. We're going to have to narrow our expectations, our focus for later this week. It's all about the distribution model. It's not about the format. They're not even trying to decide the format. They're not even trying to decide the voting model. It's all about the distribution model. Can they get it done? They may need to get it done. ESPN is watching. Are they going to pull the offer? The elbows are being thrown. If you missed our show last night, we talked about Greg Sankey being upset on Friday. A lot of cloak and dagger stuff is going on. Stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe. Open up your notifications. Smash the like button if you liked our content today. If you did not like it, hit the thumbs down button. Let us know in the chat or on X at Flug Empire. Let us know how we can better serve you, the college football fan. I want to thank the incredible generosity given to the show once again by the PATC community. The great comments in the chat. A lot of legendary comments during this live show, and then the great phone calls. Holy smokes. We had Auburn Tiger. We had PATC Mr. Auburn Tiger. We had Hidden Hawaiian. We had Jamie Thornton, the Razorback. We had everybody from all over the country calling us the beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, and I'm loving every minute of it. Stay close. This is day one of a very important week. This is day one. Tomorrow, keep your head on a swivel and stay close to us at Peek Around the Corner. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please, 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 you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.